After Atlantis, is another civilization sleeping beneath the Indian Ocean? For thousands of years, ancient Tamil texts have spoken of a lost land, a continent swallowed by the sea, a civilization older than Egypt, older than Mesopotamia. Its name was Kumari Kandam. Chapter 1. The Lost Land in Ancient Tamil Memory. Long before satellites mapped the oceans and long before geology named continents, the Tamil people of South India were already telling a story about a vanished world. A land that no longer appeared on any map. A homeland that, according to their oldest poems, once stretched far beyond today's southern tip of India, into what is now the Indian Ocean. They called it Kumari Kandam. In ancient Tamil Sangam literature, this land is not described as a myth or a paradise. It is described as a place with rivers, mountains, cities, and academies of learning. The texts speak of Tamil kings who ruled from this southern land, and of poets who gathered there to preserve language, law, and culture. In these stories, Kumari Kandam was not just a territory. It was the cradle of Tamil civilization itself. One of the most important ideas in Tamil tradition is that Tamil is among the oldest living languages on earth. To explain this, the texts describe a long, continuous civilization, one that began not on the Indian subcontinent, but on a now lost land to the south. When that land was destroyed by rising seas, the people did not vanish. They migrated northward, carrying their language, myths, and identity with them. This is where Kumari Kandam becomes more than legend. The poems describe massive floods swallowing entire regions. They describe coastlines collapsing and kingdoms disappearing beneath the waves. These are not told as divine punishments, but as natural disasters. Slow, relentless, unstoppable. The sea rises, the land retreats, civilization moves. To modern readers, this sounds eerily similar to what science now calls the end of the last ice age, when global sea levels rose by more than 100 meters. Vast coastal plains around the world were submerged. Entire human settlements were erased. In Tamil memory, Kumari Kandam was one of those drowned worlds. What makes these texts extraordinary is their detail. They name lost rivers. They list ancient kings. They describe political systems, trade, and cultural institutions that existed before the catastrophe. To the Tamil mind, this was history, not mythology. For centuries, this story was ignored outside South India. Western scholars dismissed it as folklore, assuming it was a symbolic way of explaining cultural origins. But for the Tamil people, Kumari Kandam was never symbolic. It was a lost homeland, a civilization that did not fall to war, invasion, or empire. It fell to the ocean, and somewhere beneath the waves of the Indian Ocean, according to these ancient memories, the first chapters of Tamil civilization are still waiting to be found. Chapter 2. When Science Accidentally Revived the Legend. For thousands of years, Kumari Kandam lived only in ancient Tamil memory. To the outside world, it was invisible. No maps, no ruins, no recorded coordinates. Then, in the 19th century, something unexpected happened. Western science, without meaning to, began drawing the same lost land the Tamil texts had described. It started with a mystery. European naturalists were confused by the strange similarities between animals found in India, Madagascar, and parts of Africa. Lemurs, reptiles, and fossil plants appeared on lands separated by vast oceans. In the age before plate tectonics, scientists had no explanation for how these species could have crossed thousands of kilometers of open water. So they proposed a radical idea. They believed there must once have been a massive landmass connecting these regions, a southern continent that had later sunk beneath the ocean. They named it Lemuria. In 1864, British zoologist Philip Sclater formally introduced the theory. According to Lemuria, India, Madagascar, Sri Lanka, and parts of Southeast Asia had once been part of a single continuous land. Only after this continent sank did the oceans divide them. When Tamil scholars read this, they were stunned. The European maps of Lemuria overlapped almost perfectly with their own ancient descriptions of Kumari Kandam, a lost southern land, a drowned continent, a civilization that had once existed where the Indian Ocean now lies. To Tamil intellectuals, this was not coincidence, it was confirmation. For the first time, Western science appeared to be validating what Tamil literature had preserved for millennia. Newspapers, academic journals, and cultural movements in South India embraced Lemuria as the scientific name for their ancestral homeland. Kumari Kandam was no longer just poetry, it was geology. But history took a turn. By the early 20th century, the theory of plate tectonics replaced Lemuria. Scientists discovered that continents move slowly over the Earth's mantle. India had not been connected to Africa by a vanished land. It had drifted northward after breaking away from Gondwana millions of years earlier. Lemuria was removed from scientific textbooks, yet something important remained. While a massive continent had not sunk whole, science now confirmed that sea levels had risen dramatically at the end of the last ice age. Huge coastal plains once existed around India, Sri Lanka, and Southeast Asia. Many of them are now submerged beneath shallow seas. In other words, entire landscapes did disappear. So Lemuria as a continent was rejected, but the possibility of drowned civilizations was not. What Western science erased with one hand, it quietly restored with the other. Ancient shorelines, lost river systems, and sunken plateaus across the Indian Ocean began to appear in sonar scans and geological surveys. And suddenly, Kumari Kandam did not look so impossible anymore. It was no longer a question of whether land had been lost, only how much. Chapter 3. The Sunken World. Beneath the Indian Ocean, beneath the rolling waves of the Indian Ocean, lies a world most of us will never see, a world that has been hidden for thousands of years. While myths spoke of Kumari Kandam, modern science has begun uncovering a sunken landscape that may hold the key to these ancient memories. Advances in sonar technology and underwater archaeology have revealed massive plateaus, ancient riverbeds, and submerged structures scattered across the ocean floor. Off the coast of India, near the Gulf of Cambay, researchers discovered remains of what appear to be human settlements dating back over 9,000 years. Stone walls, streets, and geometric formations lie silent beneath the water, frozen in time. Carbon dating suggests these ruins existed long before the rise of the Indus Valley civilization, making them among the oldest known urban structures on Earth. Even more astonishing are the patterns of rivers etched into the ocean bed, suggesting that these lands were once fertile and thriving. According to Tamil tradition, these were the lifelines of Kumari Kandam, the rivers that nourished its fields, connected its cities, and supported a civilization of scholars, traders, and kings. Today, these waterways lie hidden, invisible beneath the ocean's surface, yet their traces echo the memory of a drowned world. The idea that entire continents could disappear beneath the sea may seem like myth. Yet geologists confirm that during the last ice age, global sea levels were as much as 120 meters lower than today. Coastal plains across South and Southeast Asia were exposed, inhabited, and later swallowed by rising oceans as glaciers melted. Entire cultures were forced to migrate, carrying their language, knowledge, and traditions to new lands. Kumari Kandam, according to legend and emerging evidence, was one such civilization. Its disappearance was not the result of war or conquest. It was a slow, inevitable drowning. And because the land vanished beneath the waves, no monumental architecture survived above water to tell its story. Unlike Egypt or Mesopotamia, its history was preserved only in memory, poetry, and oral tradition. Today, the Indian Ocean holds countless mysteries beneath its waves. Sonar mapping continues to reveal structures that hint at advanced human activity long before recorded history. Every submerged ruin, every underwater plateau raises the possibility that Kumari Kandam, or something very much like it, was real. The sunken world beneath the Indian Ocean is more than legend. It is a reminder that history is not only written on stone, but sometimes it is hidden beneath the relentless tides, waiting for those who dare to search. And for centuries, the ocean has kept its secrets very well indeed. Chapter 4. Did survivors build South Asia? When the waters rose and Kumari Kandam vanished beneath the Indian Ocean, the story of its people did not end. According to Tamil tradition, the survivors, The scholars, farmers, traders, and rulers of this lost land escaped to the northern shores of South India. They carried with them their language, culture, and knowledge, planting the seeds of civilization that would shape the subcontinent for millennia. The Tamil texts are clear. These migrants brought with them advanced skills in agriculture, navigation, and trade. They knew how to harness rivers for irrigation, build coastal ports, and organize urban centers. They did not arrive as strangers. They integrated with existing populations, sharing their expertise and enriching local culture. Over generations, these survivors laid the foundations of what became the early Dravidian civilizations of South India. Trade was at the heart of this migration. Kumari Kandam had been a hub for merchants, connecting Africa, Arabia, India, and Southeast Asia. Its people understood the monsoon winds, the hidden currents, and the routes that linked distant continents. When they settled in India, they continued this maritime tradition. Ports such as Puhar, Kaveripattinam, and Korkai flourished as centers of commerce, echoing the lost trade networks of their submerged homeland. Some scholars argue that the influence of Kumari Kandam survivors extended far beyond South India. Evidence suggests that Tamil culture and maritime expertise reached Sri Lanka, Southeast Asia, and even parts of Polynesia. Ancient temples, inscriptions, and navigation knowledge in these regions hint at a cultural diaspora that began with the ocean's great flood. Language, religion, and trade routes were carried across the waves, leaving traces of a civilization that had once been swallowed by the sea. The narrative of survivors challenges the idea that history is solely written by conquerors or kings. In this case, it was written by the tides themselves. The disappearance of a homeland created a diaspora that spread its influence quietly, yet profoundly, across South Asia and beyond. Cities rose where none had existed, trade routes thrived, and language and literature evolved, all from the remnants of a sunken continent. Kumari Kandam's survivors did more than survive. They rebuilt. They adapted to new landscapes, preserved their identity, and left an enduring legacy. The Tamil language, considered one of the world's oldest living languages, carries within it the memory of this lost land. The maritime knowledge, the cultural sophistication, and the economic networks of ancient South India may all trace back to those who escaped the waves. In this way, the story of Kumari Kandam is not just about loss. It is about continuity, adaptation, and the quiet but unstoppable power of a civilization that refused to disappear, even when the ocean claimed its home. Chapter 5. Why the world never heard this story. For millennia, Western history has been shaped by empires that left monumental evidence behind. Egypt with its pyramids, Greece with its temples and philosophies, Rome with its roads and armies, Mesopotamia with its ziggurats. These civilizations dominate textbooks and museums. Their stories are tangible, visible, and impossible to ignore. Kumari Kandam, however, tells a different tale. It was an ocean civilization. Its cities, its harbors, and even its rivers have long since been swallowed by the Indian Ocean. Unlike stone monuments on solid land, oceanic civilizations leave few traces. The rising seas erase everything. Palaces crumble under the waves, streets vanish, and rivers disappear into silence. When history literally drowns, it leaves behind almost nothing for archaeologists to find. And that is precisely why the story of Kumari Kandam was lost to the wider world. It was never conquered by armies, never toppled by invaders. Its downfall was gradual, inevitable, and absolute. The ocean itself became both destroyer and archivist. Every flood, every rise in sea level submerged the land so completely that its people had no choice but to flee, taking with them only what they could carry: their language, their culture, and their memories. Western historians, unfamiliar with Tamil texts, dismissed references to Kumari Kandam as myth or allegory. To them, a sunken continent was a fantastical notion, the stuff of fables rather than fact. The lack of surviving monuments and written records made it easy for scholars to ignore or forget. What survived was preserved only in oral traditions, poetry, and cultural memory, things historically undervalued by Western academia. Yet modern discoveries challenge this erasure. Sonar mapping, underwater archaeology, and studies of ancient coastlines have begun revealing submerged plateaus, riverbeds, and structures that align eerily with Tamil descriptions. Evidence suggests that sea level rise at the end of the last ice age may have indeed consumed large tracts of land off India's southern coast. While the continents did not vanish wholesale, coastal civilizations like Kumari Kandam were literally lost to the waves. The story of Kumari Kandam reminds us that history is not only written on stone or preserved in grand monuments. Sometimes it is hidden beneath the ocean, in places humanity cannot easily reach. The world never heard of Kumari Kandam because it was drowned, not by enemies, but by nature itself. And in its silence it left a subtle but enduring legacy, a culture, a language, and a civilization that survived in memory, influencing South Asia and the Indian Ocean world long after the land itself disappeared beneath the tides. Kumari Kandam was not conquered, it was drowned. And that is why, until now, most of the world has never known its story. Dive into more lost worlds. Subscribe to Midnight Empire and explore the secrets beneath the waves.